Hello, everybody. I'm back again with another issue of the COVID clinic. Thankfully, we have some very important information in this news update on COVID. As I had said before, that one of the highest risk are people with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and older folks. Now we have actual data from NHS, which is the medical system in England, showing that diabetic people are 2 to 3 times more likely to die from COVID than non-diabetic people. Based on 2 papers and an announcement from NHS, both those papers are in preprint stage. They have not been peer reviewed, but they say that there is 2 to 3 times increased chance of dying if you have diabetes. And from the people in England who died due to COVID, as many as 26% had diabetes. The other part of that is, as you guys know, there are different types of diabetes. The type of diabetes called diabetes type 1, where people need insulin. It generally occurs in young kids and lasts throughout life. Whereas the other one is called type 2, which is more common in older age. The worst are those with type 1. They are likely to tolerate the infection the least. Somewhat better is type 2, but certainly they are also worse than normal population. However, one more interesting thing is there's a U-shaped relationship between diabetes and COVID mortality. So what does U mean? U means that at the 2 extreme it is bad. Or in other words, if you are over-controlled and you have hypoglycemia, that is bad. That's one tip of the U. And the other tip of the U is you're so poorly controlled that you have high blood sugars. So both of them are equally bad. So what is good is having normally well-controlled blood sugar and diabetes. Now, there is a streak of good news in that among the people with diabetes who died in England, very few are below 40 years. So people below 40 years may not be as bad as the older folks. This is important information because remember, in India we have hundreds and thousands, maybe millions of people with diabetes, and in India there's a tendency of young people developing diabetes which may not be type 1, which could be type 2, and certainly there are thousands who have type 1 too. Therefore, this information is important. If you're young with diabetic, chances are less, but then you cannot take chances at all. Be safe, keep distance. The other good news is that, as I had been saying in my last few COVID updates, that India needs to open up, otherwise it will be an economic disaster. Health has to be matched with economy to decide the opening up. And in my last newsletter, I clearly mentioned that chance of pre-symptomatic infection is less than 13% or around 13%. The chance of asymptomatic infection is unknown because it can only be known if everybody is tested. Only then you know who is positive but asymptomatic. Since we have not achieved that amount of testing anywhere in the world, not only not in India, but even in the US, one of the world's richest democracy, so it is impossible to know what the figures are. However, the figures vary between 44% to 72% of patients. But anyway, these values really don't mean anything because we do not know the real truth or the real scenario unless we get everybody tested. Only then we'll know who has the infection but is still symptomatic. But the study which shows 44%, it's based on people who are in one family. They are closet within one single family, and their chance of getting is 44%. So, which is almost less than half. So if you have a family of 6 or 10 people, 3 or 5 out of those 6 or 10 will get infected, which is not strange because inside a family, it is very difficult to maintain social distancing. So as India opens, my friends, I guess you would keep social distancing to save yourself from COVID. And those who are diabetic, make sure you take your medicine at the regular interval, your insulin if required, and if not, get yourself being seen by an endocrinologist so that you're on board with everything that needs to be done. Thank you very much. Shall come back again with more interesting news.